something to say, something to say.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's OurHouse21 and time for part 3 of my Boca bearing ceramic bearing swap video for this Team Associated Apex here. So as you guys have witnessed, I've already taken care of the disassembly of the chassis front and rear clips. I've taken care of the front clip. Now it's time for me to go ahead and do the rear. So this guy, I'll do the same method as before. So I'll start off by doing the outer wheel bearings and go from there. Nathan, what are you doing, son?
It's waterproof.
Okay. All right, well, first thing I want to do is go ahead and take these wheels off. And again, as I mentioned in the last part, because the Team Associated Apex comes with screws, 4mm screws to hold the wheels on. All my other cars use locking nuts. I think most cars use locking nuts. So I want to keep my car semi-standard. So for me, changing this over to locking nuts just seems to me to make more sense. So okay, wheels come off. Put those here. All right, so I'm going to use the same method as before. Actually, on this one, okay, so what I think all I need to do is pull this turnbuckle off, and then this should rotate right out. There we go. So I popped it off. Turnbuckle or the dog bone comes out. This comes apart. Okay, and this is the same as the front. You've got a bearing pressed on here. That comes out. There's another bearing. There's another bearing over here. That pushes out. Here we go. Okay, I got these guys over here. Okay. So again, like I showed in the first video, these right here are the wheel bearings. So I'll go ahead and pull these out and put the old ones back in. There. This goes here. All right. Now I can just push this into place. Perfect. All right, so that can just hang like that. So now done here. All right, so now we need to go into the differential. So first thing I'm going to do, this little guy here, this piece is just kind of pressed in there. So I can take that, rotate it out. So that holds that on. So I've got another little C-clip holding this on here. So I'm going to use a flathead again. Teeny tiny little flathead.
Whoops.
There we go. Set it there. So now this bearing can just come right off the front, just like that. Put it over here. Now, I'm going to leave that off for a second because I'm not sure if I'm going to have to completely disassemble everything. Actually, no, I can't. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the new bearing on here. Excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and put these back in. And to refresh your memory, this is bearing, it's your bearing part number right here. Okay. So this bearing slides right on here. Just like that. I put the C-clip back in place. Press it on with the help of my needle nose pliers. There we go. And now, so that's all set. And I can put my adapter back on the front so I don't lose it. Sorry, that's the wrong one. That was an early prototype, the wrong size. Okay. So now this is going to come apart the same way as I did the front. You actually have 4 screws up top, 1, 2, 3, 4 to hold it on. 4 screws from the bottom. The bottom screws are 1.5 millimeter. I'll do them first. So now this one, just like the last one, the top of the case comes off and top out. So now, just like on the front end, this comes out. We have this, the ring gear and the pinion, where this one is supported by a C-clip, just like before. And on the rear, it just comes right out, just like that. So again, just like the front, I'm gonna put some good grease on just because I can. Now, these guys are being held on with some 2 millimeter set screws. So I'll go ahead and take that off. Okay, so.
Boy, has a pinky toe.
Okay, so that one comes off here. Okay. So now here. Oops. Wow. This guy is on there. That's kind of unusual. Okay, it looks like this had a lot of thread locker in here. Okay guys, I'm back. That was special. So I bought this car from a hobby shop. They claimed it was new. Apparently it wasn't as new as I thought it was because someone had gotten back here in the rear end and had sealed this thing up with red Loctite. And those familiar with red Loctite know that red Loctite does not want to come off. So I actually had to get creative in order to get this thing apart. So now that I do have it apart, I'm gonna have to go in and do a little cleaning up with my box cutter to try to scrape some of this red Loctite off. But yeah, I basically had to rig up a vise and pound this guy out with a hammer. That was special. That's hopefully something that you aren't going to have to do for your job. Okay, so now that I cleaned this up a little bit, got some of that Loctite off of it, you know, it's still going to be a snug fit here, but that's all right. The important thing is I can pull it apart, so that's good. So now that that's all situated, let's go ahead and get the screws on.
Oh, that's Lexi, Daddy.
Yep, that's Lexi eating her lunch. Okay, so this one goes on here. And this car, for some reason, they put a little washer here on the output shaft side. So you need to make sure that you put that guy back on. So now that I think about it, I may have forgotten to put that guy back inside on there. So I'm gonna have to go back and splice that in. That's fun. Okay, so you put that little shim in place, tighten this guy on, and ta-da. Okay, so that side's together. Now let me get the last of these guys out. And again, just so that you know, that's the size. I'll take off the old one first. Okay, so now this goes here. And there we go. All right, so now I get the other output shaft, guy in, torque it down. And again, for things like set screws, I like to torque it by hand. I like to make sure that I like the feel of it. Okay, so that's good. So I'll set this aside for the time being. Let me go ahead and get this guy. And I got the little set screw, got the little C-clip up top. Carefully removing it. Don't want the sucker to go flying. Okay, there it is. Pull that guy off. Pinion comes off. Bearing comes off. New bearing comes right on. Pinion goes right back on. It's got a notch so you can't put them the wrong way. Now that guy goes here. Now, almost. There we go. Got it back on. So we're good to go. Off to the races. All right, so now I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. Put some of the nice fill wood grease on that I like to use. And any good grease is a good grease. You know, what you're really trying to do here is just making sure that you don't have dry gears. Dry gears are bad. Okay, so I've got that there, and I got my shaft, my pinion. I'm just running through a little bit. You know, that's just what I'm doing here is just making sure that I have lube down inside the teeth. You know, so, and once this thing really starts to spin, most of this is going to fly off anyway. But I just like to be thorough. So remember the way that you got this apart, because that's the way it's going to go back together. If you put it back the wrong way, you're going to have the drive shaft rotating in the wrong direction. That's not fun. Okay, so that goes down in here. Like I said, you got the nice little shield in place. And, well, you need that. Okay. Alright, so I got this together. So I'm gonna give it a couple little turns apart just to make sure that nothing's binding up here. Looks good. So now I'm gonna go ahead and close the case. Now again, just give it a couple quick turns. Make sure it feels good, nothing's binding. Everything's going on the outside. The set screws look like they're in the right position. Everything seems good. Alright. So now I want to take one quick second.
Daddy, you need to put some water grease. Daddy, you need to put some waterproof grease. Daddy, you need to put some waterproof grease.
I already put some waterproof grease, sir. So now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pack things up a little bit. So making sure I don't get things confused. So these go back in here. Alright, so that's all set from there. Now let's go ahead and get the differential back together. So again, this is the same as before. So I've got 4 from the top, 4 from the bottom. Alright, so that's on. Now I just need to put the dog bones in, like that. And I'll pop this guy in place. All right, so this is all together now. Let me go ahead and put the wheels back on. Okay, that wasn't good. So it looks like you have to be a little careful when you maneuver these things around because the pin that keeps this dog bone in place might come loose. If that happens, there's a little pin right down in there. And if that pin comes loose, it's not going to seat properly in the bearings. Yeah. The hammer is very heavy, Nathan. Alright, so got that together. Everything's good. Yep. So this is already together. Alright. So we're in the home stretch now. Alright, so put this wheel back on here. Okay, so this in place. Alright, this one nice and snug too. Alright, so let's go ahead and take off this top piece to correct my mistake. Okay guys, remember when you put these differentials back together, there's a little shim that at least came out of mine. So you need to make sure to remember to put that in between the bearing and the drive shaft. I'm sorry, the bearing and the output shaft here, the output cup. So get that on, secure it down. Remember to make sure that you're lined up with the dent. And it just goes right back together.
Yes. Yes, Daddy. Yes, yes, yes.
I forgot that, so I have to disassemble everything to get it back in. But it goes back together nice and neat.
That is a walrus board.
All right, so now the front clip is back together. All right.